After the Central Freeway was damaged in the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, the question arose, what to do with the Central Freeway? It seemed half the city wanted the freeway torn down in order to revitalize the neighborhood, while the other half of the city wanted the freeway replaced in order to restore the transportation link they had relied upon for so many years. This is a story about how those differences were reconciled, giving us the project we have today that both moves traffic but restores the character to the neighborhood.
If you want to know how long the drive to work is going to be, you can watch the morning news, or soon someday you could just sit and look at a sign along the freeway.
The electronic boards most of us identify as Amber Alert signs will soon be working overtime, providing real-time traffic information to Bay Area travelers.
For instance, if you're driving on westbound 80, there's a sign at Ashby that will tell you how long it might take you to get from Ashby to downtown San Francisco, say 5th Street. Right now we have this system in place that can measure traffic going from point A to point B by using your fast track transponders. So when cars pass point A, a receptor will measure the speed it takes from these cars to get from point A to point B. And with that information, someone in this control center can type that into one of these orange overhead signs and let people know how long it takes to travel that distance. We want to find out which points work the best for people. If they're traveling over the Bay Bridge, most people want to know how long it's going to take them to get to San Francisco. But also some people might want to know how long it's going to take them to get to the airport.
So how much is this going to cost? Well, Caltrans officials say not much. They already have the traffic information system and signs in place. The only additional expense, electricity to light up the signs.
Experts we spoke with say repairs could take anywhere from 2 months to a year, depending on the structural damage. Caltrans says there's no official timeline at this point. Joining us now is Jeff Weiss with Caltrans to tell us a little bit more about the work they're doing this morning. Now, you don't know how long this will take, but you're getting started again this morning. Now, tell me what's first on tap this morning for you.
Well, what we're doing this morning is demolishing the structure. Yesterday it was fairly easy to go out here and start ripping things apart, but now we had to put supports up on the 580 structure to keep it from pancaking down on the 880 structure. Having done that, though, we're going to go at it again with the big hammers and start knocking away concrete and steel, clearing out as much as we can and moving on with the process.
And now the reason you did that is because you're really hoping to salvage the 880 structure underneath, is that right? And hoping that you can use a lot of this roadway.
Correct. We're being very careful because we don't know how badly 880 is damaged. And if it's only lightly damaged, then we can open it up as soon as possible. So we don't want to cause any more damage. We're being very careful on what we do with the overhanging ramp so it doesn't collapse onto 880. We want to get that open at least as soon as possible. So hopefully that's not too badly damaged and we can reopen that soon.
Jeff Weiss with Caltrans, thank you so much for talking with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Crews really hammered at it yesterday, but today we're hearing that it's going to be a more delicate process, that they're going to be taking a finer approach to this and also doing some inspection as that goes through. We're joined right now by Jeff Weiss from Caltrans, who can give us a little bit more detail on that. Now, Jeff, earlier we saw a group of engineers going by. What are they looking for, and what are we looking at today in terms of work?
Well, they're looking at what the extent of the damage is that occurred out here. We have engineers with X-ray guns looking at the columns, looking to see if there's any damage within the columns. They're doing visual inspections. They're doing all sorts of work trying to determine when we might be able to open 880. And they're also taking a look at 580, which was severely damaged. It's going to be knocked down to a point undetermined at this point. So they're trying to figure out how much we can save and how much has to be knocked down.
Any idea yet on a timeline? I know that we've been talking about that, and that's sort of the $64,000 question. We're hearing anything from 2 months to 6 months. Is that, do we have a better idea on when they might reopen?
It's really tough to come up with an estimate. And I've talked to a dozen engineers and they all shake their heads. They don't want to commit to any timeline. And the reason for that is it's a spectacular accident. You know, no one's fully prepared for something like that. So you have to get everyone out on the scene and collect data. So all the data collection hasn't been done. But there's also a shortage of materials. There's a worldwide building boom, and there's a shortage of steel. So we're going to have to order some steel and then fabricate it, especially for this location. Well, that's becoming increasingly difficult because of all the advanced orders for steel. And so hopefully we can get to the front of the line. We think we can. But even so, if there's no steel available, then we're going to have to wait till it becomes available.
All right, Jeff Weiss from Caltrans, thank you very much for joining us.
The program was allotted $7.5 million this year to cover 4 days of free transit. So far, the Air Quality District has only needed to call for 2 such days on August 29th and 30th. So what does all of this mean for Bay Area commuters and residents?
Our Spare the Air numbers for transit ridership and people responding to Spare the Air is about the same as last year. But if you remember last year, we had a bevy of Spare the Air days. So only having 2 Spare the Air days this year is a success. The air is cleaner this year. And also, we got people to ride transit, even though they weren't reminded as often about Spare the Air days.
Well, Jeff Weiss is a spokesperson for the Air Quality District and says the numbers are encouraging in 2 ways. It shows that everyone can play a role in reducing Bay Area air pollution and